So you have Reckless and Deft from Worlds last year. You have the fact that both of these teams went up against each other at MSI. So, you know, the history between these teams is only going to fuel more what is to be a very, very strong quarterfinal performance, I'm certain.
Yeah, they both also have a record of domestic dominance, and now they're trying to put that on the world stage and succeed there.
Yeah, they both certainly had fantastic regular seasons. They were both challenged coming into their grand final. Fnatic were able to get theirs together and come through as a first seed. On the other side, EDG failed at that, and that put him in SKT's group and set up what should be an absolute cracker of a quarterfinal here.
I'm just looking at how the teams have changed. I'm looking at, in particular, at Fnatic. They are a completely different team since the last time they faced. That's why I'm super excited for this matchup.
Well, as the teams take their place for Game 1, let's focus in on the series at hand. Fnatic versus Edward Gaming. Expectations were high around our midseason invitational winner, Edward Gaming. In the group stages, they were able to beat up on the weaker teams, H2K and the Bangkok Titans, but were absolutely dismantled by SKT. So today will be the first true showing of how strong EDG actually are.
Yeah, and looking at the top lane, because they've made a change here, Koro1 is coming in for Amazing J. The last time we saw Koro play was 2 months ago today. That's the last time we saw a professional game from him, and it was pre-516. And in those games, they were 1-6 in the playoffs, and that's where they actually fell down and had to go to the regional qualifier. So right now, Koro, he was out for a back shoulder injury, and now he's coming back in. I don't know how much practice he has with the team. Rumors are going around that he doesn't actually have that much since they boot camped in Korea because they were focusing on Amazing J. How much does this guy have? Because they're bringing the captain back in, and one of their problems during the group stages was communication. He's a facilitator of the communication, and that's the bonus, the plus here they're looking to get from having him back on the roster as opposed to Amazing J.
I think that's a very scary point, like the fact that he's injured, but the fact it still remains that they have Amazing J on the bench. If something happens, I'm happy to see they bring in Koro because he has shown in the past that he is willing to play the defensive role, which Amazing J is really bad at. But something that I want to focus on is the Reckless and Deft matchup. We've seen the video, we've seen like the relationship they have between each other. They are good friends. But like when I look at them both, they have a lot of history. They faced each other at Worlds last year. Samsung Blue versus Fnatic. I think, of course, Fnatic won once and Samsung Blue won once. There's a lot of history here when you're looking at these two teams. But, of course, they're on... You saw Reckless going to, I think it was Alliance. And, of course, after that, he was on Alliance and it looked kind of poor. And after that, he changed as a player. I think that is the most important thing. He's changed as a player and he kind of fit into the role as the defensive player in Fnatic. Like on Alliance, he got the criticism that he was very passive. And I feel on Fnatic, that role is perfect for him because they're playing around the top lane. And Deft as well, he was known as the teamfight AD carry. Like when I think of Deft, I also think of Imp, like Charizard and Blastoise in a way. And of course, Deft was the teamfight AD carry, Imp was the laner. And I feel like Deft now with EDG, he has evolved a lot because they're playing around him. He's dominant in lane and he's becoming a perfect AD carry.
Yeah, Reckless himself has been outspoken about the fact that he's happy to take kind of a back seat on the team, play champions like Sivir or Kennen now, the new AD
You were
carry
so
that's
happy
been picked
about
up.
that.
I'm very happy about
so
that.
Happy about
the Runon's Hurricane Kennen, but picked up, you know, to be that kind of supportive team fight AD carry that he needs to be for the team.
Yeah, it certainly has. And, you know, you have to say that this is a role that Deft was very comfortable playing on Samsung Blue, but no longer plays on the EDG lineup. He's got a very aggressive support in Mako, and that does set them up for some success. But what I want to look at is historically, and in this Worlds, why the LPL team seem to be falling down. And the first thing I do want to point out is the lane swap situation. This is something that the European teams and Fnatic especially execute on very well, whereas the LPL teams, we saw it in Invictus and LGD, but now even to a lesser extent, EDG, because they're not used to playing a very calculated lane swap. They're very reactive in the LPL, and they try and take it far. A very good example, if you want to go back and look at it, is actually the game against H2K, where EDG stayed top lane, and they dared H2K to make another map on the move while they took the tier 2 turret. That is very LPL League of Legends. Trade an objective, wait for them to react, and then see if you can exploit a weakness. We need to see more of that out of EDG if they're going to be able to take games off Fnatic today. And the other reason I think the LPL teams have fallen down a little bit is that their junglers just haven't shown up so far. Kakao had the game where he went absolutely missing on Skarner, and I just don't think he picked a champion for the rest of the tournament. Then you look at a couple of the other games where LGD's jungler just didn't perform well. Clearlove is like the last hope. He's always, like, this season especially, he's been the pinnacle of the junglers, But on the other side of the rift, you have to say probably the most improved jungler coming into this tournament has been Fnatic jungler Reignover. He's been an absolute monster in the early game. He's facilitated the top lane ganks. He's been able to get Huni ahead. And when he needs to be bottom lane, he's actually shown up.
Yeah, and the thing here as well is the lane swaps haven't been going too well for EDG. You know, the Bangkok Titan kind of mishap there that happened in the H2K game where they had to play from deficits and come back into it. That's another reason that they're pulling Koro in for the communication, because it hasn't been the lane swap mechanics from what they've been saying. They're saying they aren't talking enough in their comms. They aren't communicating. Even though there's a language barrier between some of them, they don't think that's an issue. They just haven't been on the same page due to not having their captain.
100%. And another myth I wanted to dispel is EDG is not a team in the LPL that is dominant from minute 1 to minute like 30 when they win the game. They fall behind over and over again. They give up early dragons. They look to execute around like 22-minute team fights around the Baron area. That's how they won MSI, and that's how they would expect to play today. It's just that the tempo of the game is so much quicker than what League of Legends was at that part of the year.
Now, in conjunction with the junglers, I want to take a look at the top lane. You already mentioned the fact that Koro is coming back in. EDG, though, likes to focus around the bot lane, whereas Fnatic will throw a lot of attention towards that top lane and Huni. So, considering the Reignover Clear Love matchup and the possible 2v2s in the top lane, where do we expect that top lane matchup to go?
Honestly, the way things have been looking, if we see the same performances from both these teams as in the group stages, Fnatic will win the top lane because they put more resources into it at the moment. Koro, you know, he has played the tanks in the past, the Maokai, the Gnar, and tried to play safe, and he doesn't get as many resources. They like to play to their bottom lane on EDG, and they like to get an advantage there. And that's something that hit them pretty hard during the group stages on EDG's side. They're focusing bottom lane, but Amazing J wasn't playing safe enough, and he got ganked, and he would die in the top lane. So that's what they're trying to remedy as well.
Something that we need to pay attention to an extra much in this particular matchup, I feel, is the Elise.
Huni getting some love right now. Just have to interject right now. You hear the fans.
And of course, Reignover, which I assume he's going to get the Elise. When I think of the Elise, my voice is cracking up. I don't know what's going on. Okay, it's back.
It went like 3 octaves up.
He's got a lot of feelings about Elise.
Elise, my darling. The thing is, I feel like if Clearlove is put in a matchup where Gragas, Rek'Sai, the good old, like the classic jungle matchup that we had like throughout the season, I think then he can dominate. If Reignover gets his Elise in the first rotation that Fnatic have favored multiple times, then I think Reignover is going to sway that in his favor.
Yeah, I think that we also have to take a look at like the caliber of top laners that the LPL currently has, and there are some very aggressive top laners, and historically Koro has done very well in the matchups, and even at MSI, Koro did incredibly well against Huni. He's someone that likes to not exert dominance over a lane, but he absorbs a lot of pressure and plays a fantastic Gnar. So these are champions that are very hard to turret dive. As soon as they go Mega, you can't commit to it because there's just way too much CC in their kit, and I actually think that's why they've brought it in. Even during the Road to Worlds, when EDG were performing well around their top laner, they threw no resources into Amazing J. He'll get like these 5-kill leads. He was having like 12 on Olaf games, but he would randomly die at like tier 2 turrets because he's just over aggressive. And I think that's why the swap has come in. Even if Amazing J was able to beat Huni in lane, he would be exploited throughout the mid stages of the game because Huni always gets Huni type plays throughout a stage of the game. And I think that that is where Koro will be able to shine in this matchup. He is very good in 2v1 situation.
All right, well, we want to get your thoughts on this quarterfinal showdown. Hop on Twitter and tell us which player or lane will have the biggest impact today and why. Send your answers to @LoL Esports with the hashtag Worlds so we can check in with you later today. The teams are just about ready on stage, but before we kick it off with this series, I want to know who you guys think will be moving on to the semifinals, starting with you, Yamato.
I have full faith in the European League of Legends simply because I'm going to go for Fnatic, obviously. Because in this current meta, there is very, very little room to ban out players like Reignover and Febiven. Because the last time these two faced, we saw the Azir ban, the Cassiopeia ban, and Febiven struggled. There's no room for that. Fnatic have the first seed, they have blue side 3 times, and I think they're going to take it.
All right.
I disagree on one point. I think that this matchup will come down to junglers being banned out. I think that Clearlove will be targeted, and I also think Reignover will be heavily targeted from both sides of the rift. And I think that Pawn has a pocket pick in the Viger that can very much control Febiven's champion pool. I expect this game to be very polarizing on top and bottom side of the rift. I think Fnatic have a huge advantage top lane, and if they are going to win, they need to exploit it. And EDG playing around their bottom lane should be able to get the better off of that matchup. I am going for EDG, but I think this will be our first 5-game series, and I think this is incredibly close.
All right, Zyrene, time to break the tie.
It is incredibly close. And I've been thinking about this matchup a lot. And then you look over at these two teams. You look at EDG. They look like this great army that has had a lot of success, but they've faltered a little bit. They've lost their general. Their general's coming back in, but they've moved on. It's no longer about shooting bows. It's about your guns. What accuracy does Koro have in the top lane? And you know what? This is real life. This isn't one of those fantasy books. I don't think he has the practice to pull it off. I don't. Yeah, this is a video game in real life.
I'm sorry to interrupt your speech, but
it's over. You ruined it.
I know.
But I don't think Koro has the accuracy yet on these guns to carry in the top lane. I think Huni has his number. I think Fnatic's going to take it home. I think they have hometown advantage. And I also think blue side for them is going to be big here. I am going with Fnatic today. Euphoria.
There it is. There it is. A very strong endorsement from Zyrene there. Well, the predictions are in. Let's kick it to the casters and load up for the first game in this best of 5. On the way, we'll hear from Reckless and Def, two AD carries who forged a strong friendship from the crucible of battle.